Well, very good morning, Milbury. Thank you once again for joining me again. It must be about 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. For me, that would be just before getting up to go on a long walk around Galashiels. I've been trying to lose a bit of weight, and I've managed to so far lose about 10 pounds. So getting a bit of exercise in. I must admit, once we lost the dude, I was keen to try and lose weight, but finally gotten motivated. So I'm doing about 10,000 steps every morning, but not as early as 5:30 in the morning. I must admit, that's nighttime for me. Anyway, as I say, thanks for popping on.
No problem.
And obviously, wanted to talk to you. Well, about the topic of the video, which is the questions for guildsters. I've got some of the questions here that I've written down and really wanted to run through them with you. But first of all, the obvious one is Andy Colburn and Netflix, Laura and Moira. Is it Chrome Media that their company is?
Yeah, well, Chrome Media is trying to be excused from the case.
Yeah. And obviously, Andy Colburn being represented by Mike Griesbach.
And two other lawyers.
And some others, yes. So you posted your video yesterday. Excellent stuff. Managed to get the whole of the... I mean, it only lasted about, 45 minutes?
Yep.
And that's... And first of all, can you just briefly tell us what was, in effect, Andy Colburn's complaint, and what has the judge decided to do about it?
Well, he initially submitted his claims 2 years ago. They didn't give all parties all the information, so the statute of limitations had run out.
Right.
Judge Pepper had ordered that it should go to an evidentiary hearing.
Yep.
Before she passed the case on to Ludwig.
Yep.
And he just said that he sees no need for evidentiary hearing because based on everything that they submitted, they do have a claim, but the statute of limitations have run out on that. The fact that they had resubmitted excerpts or whatever from season 2,
yes,
he has to take a look at that to make sure they have everything correct, like that they're claiming.
Yep.
But that still doesn't help him with the statute of limitations run out. So he advised them to cut your losses and try to come to some kind of agreement before coming back. And he gave them the option to have a private mediator, or if he should schedule a majesty to do that for them. Yeah. They opted to try to do this by themselves. They have until January 4th. But he told them, if you guys come to a decision before that, by all means, notify me as soon as possible. Told them that basically if it does come back to him and he is forced to rule on this, it's not looking good.
Sure. What was the actual complaint then? The specific complaint is the fact that there was editing done in Making a Murderer that meant that it looked as if Andy Colburn was answering one question when in fact it was the answer he'd given to something else. Have I got that bit right? Because I really struggle to see what it is that Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach are trying to argue about, other than the fact that they just want to do what law enforcement in Wisconsin does, and if they feel threatened, they threaten back.
Basically, he's just arguing that they manipulated the court, what actually happened in court, to fit a narrative, and due to that, it made him look extremely bad. But
I mean, he looks extremely bad because of his writing of reports. When we hear him, when we hear Angela Levy asking Dean about the fact that that was a tough day for Andy. A man that puts on a badge and a gun every day and goes to work. And Dean says, look, it's a tough day for Andy Corbin. There's going to be many tough days for Andy Corbin, but my priority is Stephen Avery, and the fact that Dean has made Andy Corbin look a complete nerd and an imbecile, shall we say? I'll try and be polite. Particularly over the writing of reports. I just find it bizarre that they've even took this case forward. So, first of all, do you think that there will be people in the sort of guilty community that will take a certain satisfaction in the fact that the case actually got in front of a judge in a timely fashion, shall we say?
Yeah.
They're going to try and say, that was a genuine case. Got in front of. Listen. One of me is bad enough, not two. The next question, then, I suppose, would be: did Judge Ludwig come out and say, this is absolutely shocking what Netflix have done to you, Andy? I'm so glad that Michael Griesbach encouraged you to pursue this case, because what you've had to go through and endure is so terrible. I'm going to award you a huge amount of Netflix money. Did he come out and say that?
No. Basically said, if you should win, I don't know what kind of settlement you're looking for or what even you'd be entitled to.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
He said something strange, though, about the fact that, Netflix wouldn't want this publicity. I disagree. I think all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. And then the judge also went to the Netflix side of things and was like, if this should go on, this could potentially make your company look bad. But like you said, bad publicity is good publicity. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I suppose the bottom line, when it comes to Series 3 of Making a Murderer, will this case be something of huge significance? Well, if it goes to the judge and he does win, then it becomes law. That means other people that go through the same process can cite the Colborne case. That's why, I don't know. And Netflix can definitely afford to settle with him, but the question is, how much is he asking for?
That's right. They didn't specify, did they? As if the judge should maybe decide that matter. But I would have thought that, particularly from Kathleen Zellner, was looking forward to an evidentiary hearing in this case, so that Colborne did have to take the stand again. Mm-hmm. So I wonder. I mean, I got the sense that the lawyers, the sort of defendants' lawyers, they really hadn't prepared anything for had they? Because they just assumed that that this was a non-starter.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, as you pointed out to me off air, the sort of what's the word? The plaintiff's side, Andy Colborne's side, they seem to know what was likely to go on.
Yeah,
as if maybe they'd had a bit of a heads up. Anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. I'll have to wait and see on that one. I'll say if
the funny thing is, I got an email for the audio file and the docket for the court listeners website. after I had already uploaded it to YouTube.
Right. And what's really funny is thinking back to this cartoon character, Woody, pecker, Woody, peck, pecks wood. I'm pretty sure it's a she, was saying that once Andy Coleman had taken Netflix to the cleaners, next they were going to start on the YouTubers.
Good luck.
I thought that was priceless. I mean, some of the garbage that she sends is so laughable. I want to look at these questions for Giltis. And I would first point out that, way back when I first spoke with Sheriff Herman, I actually put it to him because I said to him, look, this isn't a personal thing against police that that I'm supporting Stephen Brendan in this. If the roles were reversed and it was a policeman that was being accused of some crime that he didn't do, I would be equally outraged. And bizarrely, of course, in the last few months, just over the last few months, I've discovered more and more about Daniel Holtzclaw's case, which is exactly what I was on about. It wouldn't matter whether you're either side of the fence when it comes to the police. But I said to him, look, if it was you, would you be happy about being convicted on such questionable evidence? And Henny tried to argue, well, no, the evidence isn't questionable, And I said, oh, come on, Robert, give me an honest answer. Would you be happy to be convicted on that evidence? And he admitted that no, he would not have liked to have been convicted based on that evidence. So question number one that I think Giltis never answer is, how is it, as Mark pointed out, how is it that we've got Teresa murdered in two different places? You've got two different trials.
Because they don't know what happened to her.
No. So you've got, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like that game, the whodunit game. What's it called again? Cluedo. Yeah. You've got in scenario number one, shot in the garage. Is that right? Yeah, because that's where they found the bullet. Cause of death, bullet to head. But in Brendan Dass's trial, it's murdered in the trailer, and it was by the stabbing and strangling. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how on earth do we end up with two separate trials with two different scenarios? It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I wanted to ask you: have you come across the interview with Pete Bates? This is going back a while. There was an interview with Pete Bates, Conrad Pete Bates, in which he talks about Deborah Kakach, who is the county coroner.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she's the one that's excluded from the crime scene because she hasn't got a conflict of interest.
Yep.
But it goes even deeper than that, because what Pete Bates found out, and John Farrak also covers it.
Well, the thing is, the coroner was contacted on the 9th. Manitowoc officer Greg Shetter pages the Calumet County coroner to come. That's the same day that they start finding bones off of Avery property, nowhere near it, in the Manitowoc County gravel pit.
Yeah. But one of the big problems with Deborah Kakach, as Pete Bates pointed out, was that there was an incident earlier on, however, weeks, months, years earlier, where the sheriff's department fell out with Deborah Kakach. Can you remember what that was about?
I believe it was a motorcycle accident, and one of the responding officers ran the person over.
Yeah.
So yeah, they knew she wasn't going to play ball, and
Well,
the way that the law works here, the coroner has the ability to arrest the sheriff.
yes. Yeah.
They are the top dogs.
Yeah. Apparently, as you say, the when Deborah Kakach arrives at the accident scene, there's this person who's been obviously knocked down, and apparently when she arrives, there's a sheriff's officer in a huge amount of distress because he's gone and ran over that person, that victim lying on the road, and apparently the sheriff's department then insisted that Deborah Kakach write up a report and conclude that the victim was already dead before being ran over a second time. And she refused to do that. And she said, no, if my report, if my conclusion is that he was alive and then the fatal wound was being run over by the police officer, that's what's going in the report. That was the reason why they didn't like her, because she was just being honest about about her job, and she was not prepared to go along with the coercion and corruption that was rife with Tom Kusurak, wasn't it? He was renowned for if somebody did something wrong, he would brush it under the carpet for them in return for favors later on.
I'm sure.
Yeah. How is it? Question number 3. How is it that there is no DNA of Teresa Holbach anywhere in Stephen Avery's trailer? There's even a key found in Stephen Avery's trailer, and there isn't even Teresa's DNA on that.
Well, they should have found her fingerprints on the Auto Trader magazine.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that? She touched it. She handed it to him. He placed it on his computer desk, and that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Obviously, he picked it up again because he started looking for it, seeing that there was loaders in it, and then he tried calling her back.
Yep. Yeah. Next, as I've got a list of 8 here, and so number 4. Why only swab the hood latch for Stephen Avery's DNA? There's lots of other parts.
Because they only had one. They only had one swab.
Yes. To swap.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also you see in one interview that Ken Kratz gives, where he is on toast, and he's being interviewed by that reporter that's come back, like a couple of years later, and says, why is there, what's with this, no fingerprints, And Ken Kratz, well, I don't know. Maybe they weren't looking for fingerprints. I mean, it's ridiculous. And in the same way that, as you say, there's only one swab, therefore they only swabbed allegedly the hood latch. Where should blood have been found in the RAV4 had Stephen Avery gone in, bleeding finger? Where are all the different places that blood should have been found?
Just look at his Grand Am in his truck.
Yeah. It's on his gear stick, isn't it? It's all around the gear stick. Yeah. How did he not leave any fingerprints, any bloody finger? We've got a bloody fingerprint on the back of the RAV4. It's not Steve's. It's somebody else's. And he leaves no fingerprints. So what, was he wearing gloves? Then how did he bleed?
Yeah.
And for me, the most bizarre is that you've got different types of blood in different states. You've got flakes found on the carpet.
Yeah.
Who bleeds blood flakes? That to me is that for me, when it was quite funny when you see Kathleen Zellner and is it Kurt?
Yeah.
And they're actually removing the sink in order to do that experiment, about how the blood would be, and they can produce the exactly the same as what we see inside the RAV. And another big question, question number 6. When it comes to the murder of within the white community, I believe statistically it's 99% likely that it's somebody that knows the victim, i.e., boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend, etc. Why was there zero investigation into Ryan? He's not even interviewed formally.
Why is DCI inserted into this before they even find the RAV?
As
Deb Strauss.
Yes.
She calls in and says, I have dirt on Stephen Avery. I can help.
Mm-hmm.
They find the RAV. Where is she? She arrives on the property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's just, I don't know.
Is it
too many drug officers involved?
Yeah.
In this case.
Could it be, though, that they did investigate Ryan, or simply say to him, we could easily put together a story whereby you could have been the perpetrator.
The fact that they subpoenaed everybody, but one person, Scott Bloodhorn, for his DNA, they kindly asked him if he'd be able to come in on his whenever available. He actually calls in Calumet County Dispatch asking when he can come do this.
Yep. What I was going to suggest, though, is that maybe they did put pressure on Ryan, because if Ryan is the one that's gone and parked,
they let Ryan and Scott on the property.
Yeah.
On the 7th, twice, in the morning and the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. What were they doing there?
Planting stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I presume. And Deb Strauss is there right before they arrive. They leave, she leaves. Yeah. They come back, she comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 7th of November, a very, very significant day in this case.
Yeah. What I've got next is how did we end up with Stephen Avery being found guilty of murder but not guilty of mutilation of a corpse? How does that?
Because it was like Fox even says it. It's hearsay, therefore he cannot rule on that. So they dropped it. Had Brendan Dassey testified, then they could have.
So you've lost me there. What's hearsay?
They had nobody stating that they seen this happen. Just like the rape, torture.
Right. Yeah.
It's hearsay. They don't know that it happened. It's scientifically proven that, they proved that they found some kind of bones.
Yes.
Before, but they had no proof that she was sexually assaulted. They had no proof that she was tortured. They had no proof of any of that. So it's hearsay. That's why Judge Fox even says that I'm going to drop these charges because it's hearsay. We have no substantial proof. Now, had Brendan Dassey testified, which they did not want, then he probably would have been, who knows what would have happened then. Remember, Stephen Avery was his alibi.
That's right, yeah. But then in the case of after this, as far as the verdicts were concerned, the verdict was, yes, Stephen was guilty of murder, but wasn't guilty of mutilation of a corpse. In other words, wasn't guilty of actually burning the body in the burn pit. Well, it doesn't make sense, does it?
Both cases have two different scenarios. It makes no sense.
Yep. But the most likely answer to that is surely that, yes, there was trading of votes between the jurors the apparently the scenario was going to be that if you find him, they had to come to a unanimous decision. If you find him guilty of murder but not guilty of mutilation of a corpse, then apparently some of the jurors were sold on this idea that it would automatically be a mistrial. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard people say that.
Yeah. And finally, question number 8. Well, I've got one more question after that. But number 8.
You can actually hear Wiegert and Fassbender fuck up when they're interrogating Brendan. They forget to get him to talk about the fire first.
Right.
Because they're moving on. He says, "Oh, it happened outside the garage." No. What happened in the garage?
Yeah.
Finally gets them to say what happens in the garage. Tries to get what happened to her head. What happened to her head? Oh, we choked her. We hit her. No. What happened to her head? I'm just gonna say it. Who shot her in the head? Oh, he did. And then they're like, oh, okay. What was the fire already going? Oh. They screwed up.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that the jury did not get to see the whole interrogation, especially the ending when he's talking to Barb.
Yeah. It's final question. The lack of photos of the crime scene. Now, we kind of touched on that with Deborah Kakach, but even is it John Ertl says, no, I wasn't going to take any photographs of anything that had clearly been altered.
Well, there were photos taken. We've never got H1 and H2, which were the photos of the alleged burial site. They won't release those. There's tons of pictures that haven't been released for Queso, and who knows what Manitowoc is hiding, or destroyed. I'm sure they got rid of everything. There's no point to keeping it. They're never expecting Make Your Murder to be made. They're never expecting anything to happen.
Yeah.
That's why they gave the bones back.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, a question that came from Murder on the dance floor. He wanted to know, really, are people who are professing to know that Steve and Brendan are guilty, are they simply stupid? Are they simply dumb? Are they, somewhat similarly, they're not stupid, but they're not well informed? Or are they simply unwilling to believe that law enforcement would be corrupt?
I think it's all three.
Yeah. And I think we can add a D there. I think they are haters of Steve and Avery, and I think they were poisoned by Ken Kratz's press conference, and ever since then, they cannot let go of this idea. They must have been really appalled when they heard Ken Kratz's press conference and gone, "Oh my God, this is appalling." They must have been. They must have been poisoned by this. The number of times that they go on about the cat incident, they just dislike Steve. They hate Steve. They also dislike his the Avery family in general, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I did slip up big time, because yesterday I said that the line of 80 More Things came from Stacey Seabrook's song called Illusion of Justice. And it occurred to me, it's not. Any idea which one it was?
Not offhand, no.
Nah, it really matters. It really matters is the one that
I like all of his songs.
Oh yeah. But the lyrics, it's all of them are great. But yeah, particularly check out It Really Matters. That's where he uses the line, "There could be 80 more things." So much of it just does not make sense. Listen, pal, I'm not going to keep you much longer. That's half an hour flown by, and I've got to start work shortly. And I can imagine that you're needing a sleep soon.
I'm fine.
Yeah. What have you got on the horizon then? What are you sort of looking forward to?
It's, as far as what this case
Well,
related?
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
pretty sure we won't hear. I'm pretty sure we won't hear anything on Steven's side.
Yeah.
Until probably April.
That's what I've heard as well. That
but you never know.
Yes, you never know. Things have a habit of just coming out right out the blue, don't they? You know.
Well, my opinion is the more these courts get used to using the Zoom stuff, the quicker it's going to be.
Yes.
And it's easier because you don't have to go to the court. You can be anywhere. You don't have to be at the courthouse.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just going to be a little tricky when it comes to like you have to show exhibits.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because I recently had a court hearing on Zoom, and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Like they kicked us off into a private room so I could talk to the attorney myself.
Yeah.
Ended up dropping me off the call completely, so then I had to re-log in. It was, and the kicker is when they sent me the info for the login for the court date, they sent me the wrong login information. It didn't work, so then I had to call the clerk of courts, and then I finally get in there, and the other people in the case got the same problem too, and I'm trying to tell the judge like, hey, you guys sent us the wrong information. You need to try to contact these people. Because I don't know if they're going to have the wits enough to call the clerk of courts themselves, because that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well.
But they make mistakes.
Yes, but as you say, if as people get more and more used to this way of doing it, then that's good. Okay, listen, I'm going to say cheerio, but thank you once again very much for coming on and having a wee chat with me about those. About obviously Andy Colburn and Judge Ludwig's more or less his non-decision, I suppose. Really, would that be a fair characterization?
Well, it was strange. He was like, I've rarely ever do this, but I'm going to leave it to you guys to try to mediate this you guys yourselves.
Yeah.
But he stressed a lot that statute of limitations has run out. There's nothing he can do about that. And based on the what they filed right before the hearing, the evidence for Making a Murder 2, he has to look at that. So they may have claim there or not, and who knows? Like he said, he expects Netflix to decide to file for dismissal, just like they did the first time. So
yeah. Okay, thanks very much. And if I don't see you before, we'll see you on
Monday.
Although I'm just thinking, Tracy Keogh is keen that we do something on the Wednesday, the 23rd. So I'm just wondering if maybe we should put Mondays back 2 days to Wednesday. Obviously, I don't think you know what your sort of schedule is, whether that would work for you, but
I have no clue yet.
No.
Okay. Oh, until Saturday.
Sure. Okay. I'll go in touch with you then. Okay. And thanks again, and thank you to everybody that's joined in. On the chat, but also for your comments on yesterday's videos and the questions that you felt were most important. Hopefully, we've more or less, I think, within these 2 videos covered just about everything that you could ask. But I'm sure there's tons more things, 80 more things. Anyway, I'll say cheerio. Catch you all again soon. Bye for now.
Later, everybody.
Cheers.